This is Ma Broon's cookbook, and in addition to being incredibly charming, it is a treasure trove of Scottish recipes. I'm on a journey to learn the traditional foods of the British Isles, one recipe at a time. And this cookbook has inspired me to spend some time with Scotland, starting with Scotch pies. These will require a hot water pastry, which I've attempted once before, not very successfully. So I'm excited to give it another go, and hopefully I will improve. So let's dive into this very charming cookbook. I did have to get this shipped from the UK. It said it was used, but it came in brand new condition. And I'm going to call out one Margaret Thompson real quick, because it came with this retirement letter awarded to Margaret Thompson on a successful retirement. So Margaret Thompson, if you're out there, we know you didn't use the cookbook that they gave you, and it got sold on, but it ended up here in the US and found a loving home where I will get a lot of use out of it. So this cookbook is designed to mimic a handwritten recipe book, which is part of the charm, but it can make it a little bit difficult to decipher. And it also uses some words and phrasing that I think are specific to Scotland, which make it a little bit more challenging to read, but that's all part of the fun. This is foolery, I'll no pretend it isna. But you just can't tell what some butchers put in their mutton pies, so it's nice to make your own for a change. There are a couple of notations on the top here that look like they were written in by different people. One says, "Oh, hey, hen, dinna forget the peas and the chips tay." So that is, I think, mushy peas and chips, French fries. I'm not going to make chips. I know what they taste like, but I did get some peas. So we're going to need to start with a recipe for the hot water crust pastry. I'll get to that. We're going to need a pound of finely minced beef or lamb. I was able to get some nice quality ground lamb here. We're going to need 8 ounces of finely crushed rusk or fine breadcrumbs. I still have some rusk from when I made sausage, so I'm going to be using that. Let's set this to the side for a second and then get into the hot water crust pastry. I'm adding 8 ounces of lard into a saucepan. I've got 10 fluid ounces of water. I'm going to mix that into the saucepan. I'm going to put this back on the stove and melt it down. While that's going, I'm going to get a 1.5 pounds of self-raising flour. It says sieve the flour into a bowl that has been warmed. I just microwaved this bowl for a minute. It is a little bit warm. Not hot to the touch, just a little bit warm. That's what the recipe says. In the comment section of my pork pie video, there were a lot of really helpful suggestions on how to make hot water pastry correctly, but it seems like there are a couple of different schools of thought on it. Whoa, that got too hot. I am following the recipe in this book for this time. I am sure that I'm going to be coming back to hot water pastry in the future. Some people said to let it cool or even refrigerate it before using it. Some people said to use it immediately, and some people said to just keep it warm and let it rest for a while and then use it. So I'm just doing what this recipe suggests this time. And like I said, I will come back and try different methods in the future and figure out which my preferred method is. All right, 1.5 pounds of self-raising flour sifted into a warm bowl. The goal is so the hot fat and water mixture is not chilled by the flour. You know what? I'm going to put this whole thing back into the microwave for a bit, just to warm it up. If the goal is to keep everything warm and to keep the flour from chilling down the hot fat, then that's what I want to do. Make a well in the middle of the flour and mix in the hot fat and water mixture with a wooden spoon. Would probably be best to have a slightly larger bowl, but I like this heavy ceramic bowl to retain heat better. Okay, I think I've got it mixed fairly thoroughly. Okay, it's cooled down a little bit. I'm going to knead it until it becomes elastic. And it's still very, very warm to the touch. Slightly hot to the touch, actually. Enough so it doesn't burn me instantly, but I got to keep moving or it will. You know, already this is a much, much nicer process than when I tried to do this last time when I didn't know what I was doing. But that's the point of trying, learning new things. Okay, I'm guessing it's not going to have like the elasticity of like a yeast dough, but it is definitely getting elastic. There's such a high fat content in here. I'm not going to develop gluten to where it's really stretchy, but I do want to make sure I knead it thoroughly. It's still very, very warm to the touch, so I'm not worried about it being too cold yet. All right, it is well formed. It has some elasticity to it. And now Ma Broon tells me to leave it in a warm place until it has become slightly firmer, but still elastic enough to roll it out. So I'm going to put it back in this bowl and stick it on the oven, which I have preheating, but I just wiped all the crusty bits out of the bowl. While that is resting for a bit, I'm going to go ahead and mix together the filling for it. Let's see, what does Ma have to say? 1 pound of ground lamb. So 8 ounces of rusk. Trying to mix this together, it is a little bit dry, but it does say to add water or stock to bind it. So I mix it pretty well by hand, and then I'm just going to add a little bit of water because I don't want to get it too mushy. I'm not sure of the exact texture that it's supposed to be, though. It doesn't give you an exact quantity of water. It just says add water or stock and bind together. So I don't know how cohesive this filling is supposed to be. I'm going to go with a little bit more moisture than I would expect from, say, a sausage. And I know that rusk in there is really good at absorbing moisture, so I think I can get a little bit aggressive with how much water I put in here. Seasoning of salt, white pepper, and mace or nutmeg. It doesn't tell you how much of each, so I'm just going to go with my gut. Pepper and a little bit of ground mace. Okay, let's mix this all together. With adding that mace in there, it reminds me a lot of the Cumberland sausage that I made. It's like not identical. It's a much lower fat content than the Cumberland sausage, but the seasoning is very similar, but there's a higher rusk percentage. So a lot higher rusk, a lot less fat, and similar seasoning. And instead of ground pork, I'm using ground lamb. With this done, I'm going to set it to the side, and I think it is time to come back to the pastry. The recipe says this makes 15 pies. I don't have 15 containers. I did get these smaller stainless steel pans to make the pies. When I tried the pork pie, I just did one big one. Apparently, it's very appropriate to do smaller pies. So that's what I'm going to try. So I won't need, I have 6 of these. So I'm going to do 6 of these pans. So I just need to cut out the bottoms and the tops for 6. This is so much easier to work with than the mess I made when I first tried it. Let me cut this in half though. This is it's a big amount of pastry to try to be doing all at once on this countertop. And this pastry is still warm to the touch, although cooling quickly once I've rolled it out. I think these pans are okay in a pinch to make these, but probably not the perfect pan. And I'm just taking the remaining the pastry in here and pressing it up against the sides and sort of building it up a little bit more along the sides to get a little bit more height. I think that's all right, but please let me know. My goal is to get better with every attempt. What does Ma Broon tell me to do now? It says to fill the pies 3/4 full, add the tops, and seal. I don't know if that looks about right. And I'm trying to get like a pinched sort of crown to it, I guess. All right, now it says to make slits or wee circles in the pie tops to let the steam out. I'm going to do wee circles. All right, now I need to brush the tops with milk. And I'm going to bake these in a high oven for 25 minutes-ish. So that I interpreted that to be 425 F, which is like roughly 220 C. Still not exactly the perfect pans, but getting closer. And I'm confident they're going to come out just because the hot water crust pastry has such a high fat content. I think they'll pop right out of here without them being springform pans. So let's put this in the oven. Okay, I need to clean up, and I'm going to heat up the mushy peas too. How do I do that? It's easy peasy. It only takes a few minutes to heat me in a pot on the hob. I learned that the hob means the stovetop. I'm going to clean up, heat these up, and when I come back, I'll pull the pies out of the oven. Okay, these are nice and brown. They smell delicious. It looks like it came out better this time than the last time I tried it. So I think this should come out fairly easily. Yeah. Let me know how these look compared to the real thing. I think they are awesome looking. I feel like I got the pastry and the sort of spirit of this kind of meat pie better than I did with the pork pie. I do know that these are getting close, but not quite the right container to bake them in. So I'm going to go on a quest to figure out the right container to bake them in. I got the lids sealed on pretty well. Some of them are coming up just a little bit, like that. Visually, I am quite satisfied with these. So let's make a little plate here. Some mushy peas. The book did mention vinegar, and I looked it up, and serving these with vinegar is something that's sometimes done. I unfortunately don't have any malt vinegar. It's lamb. I would serve a red wine with lamb, so I'm going to put a little bit of red wine vinegar on the side just to try it. If this is completely off the mark, please let me know. But on my shopping list is now HP brown sauce and malt vinegar. Let's head to the table. Boy, am I ready to tuck into this. It looks amazing. I always love, here in the States, we have pot pies, which is a way of using up like a little bit of a few leftover scraps of like beef or chicken. Chicken pot pies are the most common. Mostly I would buy them frozen from the store. They're not that great. Ton of sodium. They're not healthy at all. It's a nice big bite here. Let's see if I can take it all in. Okay, that was much too big of a bite, but it was really tasty. This hot water crust pastry, this is so much better than the one I made last time. It has a flakiness to it, but it's very sturdy. It's a structural pastry. This filling, excellent. It's a nice even texture. It's got a nice savory taste to it. The seasoning helps balance out the gaminess of the lamb a little bit, but you still do get the gaminess of the lamb, which I really like. At this point, I think it is probably criminal that I don't have brown sauce with this. I didn't realize until I started making it that is traditionally served with it. So I definitely need to get some HP sauce or some brown sauce. Let's try these mushy peas from this can. Now, I did try a mushy pea recipe before. Infamously, I got it wrong, according to the comments. I liked them, but it was spring pea puree. It wasn't mushy peas. And this is tinned mushy peas, but hopefully this is closer to what is correct. Okay, tasty. It is a nice mellow pea flavor. It is not as sweet as the garden peas I'm used to, and it doesn't have as strong that vegetal chlorophyll flavor as I'm used to from peas. It's almost closer to mashed potatoes in flavor than I would have expected. So I've got the mutton filling, the hot water crust pastry, and some mushy peas all together. Let's see how they play. Yeah, very tasty. I'm learning more and more that with a lot of British food, you can't look at just the individual components. You've got to look at what all would be on the plate and try it all together. And then there's a little bit of an alchemy when you put everything together. And I think that is the thing that I did not fully appreciate before I started this journey, is how much everything, the interplay between subtle foods really changes it and elevates the flavors. I'm going to take one last bite of the pastry, the filling, the mushy peas, and the vinegar and see what they all do together. Yeah, alchemy. So for the mushy peas just by themselves, I'm giving them a 6 out of 10. I don't hate them. I don't love them. They're nothing special. I can see how they are something that needs to be added to other foods to change the flavors up a little bit. The lamb, the Scotch pies, I'm going to give those an 8 out of 10. I really do like them. This hot water crust pastry, this is very, very tasty. The lamb is a little bit gamey, which I like in moderation. So this isn't something I could have all the time, but as a special occasion sort of situation. So Scotch pies, I'm going to give these an 8 out of 10. A really solid meal. And now that I'm feeling more confident with this hot water crust pastry, I think there is a new world of possibilities opening up to me. There are a lot more pie variations from different regions of the UK to try. I'm really going to tuck in and enjoy this meal. I am very happy with it. But that is all for today. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the future.